Yeah, let's hear from Brent Brennan. Here we go. All right, wake up. How's everybody doing? It's good to, yeah? This is interactive. We need some feedback here. Everybody have a nice summer? Okay, ready to get football going? Yeah, we're looking forward to it too. Just so you all know, I'm repping the Pride of Arizona. You know, Coach Shoup gave me this polo. I get to go meet with them, I think in a week. Ben, is that next week? And I would tell you this, and I know you know too well, band energy is something special. Like that band energy, I take players with us there every year, and I try and warn them, and then the players take the stage, and they like, Coach, I had no idea. It's pretty special. Before I get going, I just want to give you guys a heads up on a handful of players that starting training camp will not be in full participants, and that's Dalen Austin, Scotty Brennan, Dejon Hinton, Hannibal Navies, Coleman Patman, James Pike, Myron Robinson, and Everett Rousseau, and Anthony Wilhite. And I'm not going to get into what the injuries are. Some of them will return. Some of them have a little bit longer road, but I just wanted to clear that so when you guys are at practice this week, you have a little bit of an idea what's going on. It's been a great summer. It's been a great summer for us. You know, June, started off excellent with a lot of good wins in the recruiting process. And then, I think Coach Carroll and our strength staff is second to none. I thought they did an incredible job. Our players just attacked the process. And I think that's been something that's been really fun to watch, is to watch them understand. I think if you're playing in the Big 12, everybody's goal is to win the Big 12, right? Everybody's goal is a conference championship. But that can't be our focus as a team. Our focus needs to be on the right now, on the details. And over the last 2 months, that's been lifting, running, player run practices, how we eat, how we sleep. Like those things have been, so much more important. Knowing the goal is what the goal is, but the path to get there is through what we are doing right now, what we are doing today. How hard are we diving into our process? And so I think that has been something with Coach Carroll and his staff that has been outstanding. I'm excited about the leadership of this team. Obviously Noah Fafita, our Heisman Trophy candidate, is special in every way. And you guys don't get to see it like we do. You guys get to see glimpses of it, but we get to see it every day. How he stands out, how he leads from the front, his voice, his confidence, his level of execution and preparation, and how he pushes his own process, which in turn pushes our team process. He continues to demonstrate the kind of loyalty that everybody in college football feels like they're missing right now. Everybody's longing for that kind of intense loyalty that doesn't really show up in college football right now because it's so driven by money and it's so transactional. But Noah Fafita is one of those rare ones. And so we're fortunate with him leading the way and the other leaders on this team. We've had an outstanding summer. And now we're looking forward to the next phase, training camp. And we can't wait. We start tomorrow. The players are all they're all back in town, have a bunch of meetings this afternoon. But I'm excited to get going. I think our coaching staff, the consistency of our leadership, our ability with the help of the administration to be able to retain all of our coaches, I think is incredible. I think that part of it really, the consistency of leadership, you guys have heard me say this before, is so important in a college football program. It's important for the development of your players, it's important for the retention of your players, and it's important for the development of the collective program, not just the individuals that are in it, but in the collective program. And so we're really excited to get going. I love the coaching staff. I love these kids that we're working with, and we're ready to have some fun. Bear down.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll take questions. If you wouldn't mind raising your hand, I'll write it down. We'll call on you guys. We also have a microphone, so please wait for the microphone to come around to you before you ask your question. We'll start with Justin and then David.
Good to see you, Coach. So with this 5 for 5 ruling, the possibility of you guys bringing Ismail Mahdi and Max Harris back into the fold, what do you think about that possibility, and where are you guys at right now in that process?
I think it'd be great. That process is ongoing because obviously that was a big decision that came down Friday night at 4:30 in the afternoon or 5 o'clock. So that process is ongoing. There's a lot of things we have to figure out there in terms of, what agents and what that was and what the training costs and all that stuff for those guys and how the NCAA is going to see those things for those players. But I think the biggest thing that our team and our staff will be excited about with Izzy and Max is that they are outstanding, high-character people, right? They're obviously good football players, but they're tremendous young men. And anytime we can, add a late addition like that with that kind of high-level talent combined with that high-level character, we're excited about that.
David,
Coach, oh, me? Coach, welcome back. Obviously, when you look at second year for Noah now with Seth, what is the biggest growth piece that you think we'll see from Noah now that he's been in this system with Seth for a full year?
You know, I'm excited to see that, you know, as he grows and his confidence grows in the system, that Coach Deggy can kind of push him even further. And Noah's ready for that. And I think that's one of those things where, you know, Deggy has confidence with Noah's ability to change a play call if he wants to, right? Like there's a lot that can be done when you have a player that's played that much football. And now with Noah going into his second year in the scheme, because I believe he's changed coordinators almost every single year he's been in college, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that consistency of that leadership and that consistency of that direction with Coach Deggy is going to be incredible for him.
Michael and then Lindsay in the back.
Following up on Justin's question about Ismail and Max, do you have any hesitancy whatsoever to bring guys in so late, given that maybe the depth chart is already established or other guys have put in
The
work
depth
already?
chart is not established until we start playing football.
As far as maybe shaking up the chemistry or, you know, bumping guys down who maybe had earned spots or anything of that nature?
I think at both those positions, first of all, both those guys were also core special teamers. They played a lot of different roles for us. And I think if they were jerks, maybe, right? But this team loves those two guys. Those guys were leaders. They were well respected, right? And I think the one thing, you've heard me talk about this before, but the more competition, the better. Like we want everyone to feel the pressure of competition in the practice environment. We're trying to elevate the level of play. And so the more competition, the better. Let's pour some gas on that fire.
Lindsay and then Jason Shear.
Hi, Coach. Ooh, sorry. You've talked about Noah Fafita. You've pushed his Heisman campaign. You've said he's the best story in college football right now. Besides the stats and the loyalty, what are some specific off-the-field moments or habits that you've seen from him this summer that you really believe that we haven't seen but really prove just why he's so special?
I think the way he shows up for everybody, right? Like even in the middle of July, he's hosting a charity golf tournament. A couple of you were there, you know, on a Sunday afternoon, and there's a lot of people there. I mean, just the way his ability to bring people together and to do it for unselfish reasons, you know, I just like it just makes him really, really unique. And I think when you are around high-profile athletes, right? Doesn't matter where you are. High school, pro, college, there are some that are too busy to give or feel that they're too important to serve. But that's not him. He always shows up. He always signs the extra autograph. He always gives the high five. He always talks to the grandma or the 3-year-old or the, you know, he and everybody in between. You know, and I know that is something that is really, really special about him. Obviously, his parents are amazing people. He's got a great foundation from them. But he has to make that choice every day. He has to make that choice every day to show up for everybody else, and he always does that.
Jason Shear and then Brian.
Coach, obviously you lost a couple guys in the safety room to the NFL. What does that position look like to you headed into camp?
I think going into camp, you know, there's going to be some competition there, which I think is going to be healthy. And I think that, you know, that group, they really operate kind of as a, you know, all five of them together, including the corners, right? And so you do have some stability with, you know, Gavin, who's played a lot of football for us, Javion Cole, who's played a lot of football for us. But I think you're going to see Malcolm really, really attack that thing. He's played a lot of football. He's a really mature kid. He's a hard worker. He's got the respect of the team. I think you're going to possibly see Matai in that mix. He's a young player, but he's a talented player. Lee Millette. I think, you know, there's going to be some of that competition in camp, that those things are going to have to get solved the more we play. But the good news is we've got a lot of time before we play.
Brian and then Justin.
What's the difference in your and the staff's kind of stress level going into this preseason compared to maybe last year, based off the season you just previously had and what you're trying to do now?
There's no difference. The stress level's always high, man. This is major college football, and no one cares what you did yesterday. So, like, that doesn't change. And we're excited for it. We're here for it.
Justin and then Cole in the back.
One microphone unit here. We got to.
So I noticed in the off season, part of Tristan Bound's training was doing boxing with Louis Akput. Did you notice that, and what benefits is boxing for football players?
That's a great question, and I don't have a great answer for you because Tristan's really been rehabbing a lot. You know what I mean. But it's been good to see him get back out to the team workouts and that kind of stuff. I think every player is always looking for an edge. They're always looking for an edge somewhere, and if they feel like that can provide them an edge, obviously boxing with the footwork involved and being an offensive lineman, being a big body, the better the feet are, the better they have a chance to play, the better they have a chance to move. So I think that would be the real benefit for it. But I think every player is different, and every player is trying to seek some kind of edge. And the biggest thing for us is we just don't want it to conflict with what Coach Carroll and his staff are doing.
Hey, Coach, I'm sure there's a lot of questions, but if you could pick one question that you'd have an answer to by September 5th, in other words, what's the biggest question mark for this team that you feel like you have to have answered a month from now?
I'm a little bit confused by your question. If there's one question I have to have answered by September 5th before we play, oh, yeah, is if we have a clear understanding of red line. Well, I mean, what kicking ass and playing fast looks like. Like that needs to show up in practice. And we got 25 days to figure that out.
Michael, and then Jason Barr.
What do you think makes Josh Oglesby an effective coach?
Man, he's special, isn't he? It's cool. I've had the good fortune of being with Josh for a while, and he's also an incredibly unique, loyal person also, because he's chosen to stick with me, with lots of people coming after him in the last 5 years. He's an excellent communicator. He's really good at building relationships with his players, and because he does such a great job of building such trust, he can be really demanding, but he can also be really loving. And so there's so much trust there. And I think if you ask those O-linemen that chose to come back, Tristan, for example, right, he would tell you it's because of Josh.
Jason Barr and then Chris.
Thank you. Hi, Coach. You started out today by saying Noah Fafita, our Heisman candidate, at a Big 12 Media Day. You had printed up resumes, very impressive paper resumes of him. Can you speak to why you're promoting him in that way?
Isn't it obvious?
Well, a decade ago, there was a quarterback here, and the cover of Sports Illustrated was just give him the Heisman, but the program may not have promoted him the way that you are now. So that's why I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know about a decade ago. I mean, I'm just focused on right now, which I spoke about our process right now with Noah. I think the world of college football is also much different a decade ago than it is today, right? And the choices that Noah Fafita makes combined with his high-level play, his high-level character, to me make him the perfect person to be in the hunt for that trophy.
Chris and then Lindsay.
For fans that may have not seen Trey Smith 2 years ago when you and the San Jose State folks got here, he was obviously hampered with some injuries last year. What can you tell fans about Trey Smith? What have you seen from his rehab and his process, and just what are you looking for in his final season here?
It's funny, when Trey Smith came to us to San Jose, he showed up at the mid-year, like after that COVID season. And we had signed him the year before, but just, California was all over the place with that, and especially the county we were living in. So Trey decided to come late. But when he got there, he fell in with the defensive line group that was like hyper committed. We had 2 defensive players of the year in that group, and Cade Hall and Junior Fehoko, and they kind of showed Trey the way. And really within 6 months or a year, Trey was the one player that you saw every single day in the building, like every single day, and it's still that way. They kind of helped him develop that work ethic, and now you see that showing up every day here, and now he's bringing that to our team. He's an explosive pass rusher. He's got great length, and he plays incredibly hard. And I think that's something our fans are going to be excited to watch.
Lindsay and then Jordan Ham.
Tristan Bounds coming back for his 6th year has allowed Rhino to come more on the inside for the offensive line. How has that allowed more flexibility and just overall competition within the offense and the offensive line?
I think we're really excited about the whole group. One of the bummers of Tristan being unavailable in the spring was that not having him for those reps. But the good news was that you got to see Louis get a ton of reps and Rhino move inside and Rhino have to play multiple spots and Lotto have to move around a little bit. And I think that as the more those guys play together, the better off you are. And you can't be 5 deep there. You really need 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You'd love to have 12, right? Guys that could go in there and get the job done. And I think Coach O has done a really good job, along with Coach Deggy, filling that room and bringing players in, and then also retaining players to give us a chance to do what we want to do offensively.
Jordan and then David.
Hey, Coach, as you got time away from the 2025 season, what did you reflect on, and where do you feel like you grew as a coach that you can now apply for 2026?
That's a huge question. I think in this game, I try not to look backwards very much. You know what I mean? I feel like I learned more from the 24 season than I did the 25, right? A couple things that really stick out for me. I think there's extreme value in having coordinators who are also really good leaders. And that is what Danny is, and that is what Seth is, and that is what Coach Niver is. Like, both of them are outstanding leaders. And that part of it, and then because we have great alignment on our staff, we really are always moving the same direction together. I've been on staffs, you guys have probably been in workplace situations where not everybody was, rowing the same direction. But right now we are. And I think that assertive leadership from all of them and combining with our relationship is really giving us a chance to play the kind of football we want to play, or to have the kind of program we want to have.
David and then Justin.
Brent, obviously you've always been very, pragmatic about the red line concept. We heard in the spring that Trey is known as Mr. Red Line among the players, which is kind of a big, I guess, aura to have. But is that something we could see throughout the years with you and your teams, as having a player who kind of fits that to a T and maybe gets that moniker every year, like Trey Smith apparently has within this particular group?
I would say it's between Trey and Tay, because Tay is a player that consistently shows up in practice that way also. But that's earned over training camp, right? You come out of spring, you're like, hey, this guy plays really hard. This guy personifies red line. And we talk about it frequently as a team, but then does it show up in fall camp? And that's what the next 3 weeks are about.
Justin and then Cole.
So Deuce has gone viral for his workout videos and squatting over 600 pounds and stuff like that. He's gotten the name The Incredible Hulk. What do you think about his offseason, what he's done, and just the strength that he has?
Deuce has always been a really powerful kid, but it has been exciting to see him really develop as a football player. Some of those hard lessons in 24 became, you learn from those and you improve from those. The best way to learn is through experience, but at times it's also the most expensive, right? It's also the hardest. And Deuce is one of those guys that has definitely leaned into Josh's coaching, and you see him continue to combine that work ethic with Coach Carroll and the strength staff, and then also Big Josh, and how that can just that grows exponentially. And so it's really fun to see his development and see where he's at. And he's an unquestioned leader for our football team. That's been a nice move, I think, that maybe wasn't talked about as much before. But he has become a real vocal leader. He is someone that is consistently driving the team, not just the offensive line.
Cole and then Jason Shear.
You get a lot of experience in the backfield, even if Marty can't return. What do Quincy and Kedrick bring, not just experience-wise, but strength-wise to your backfield? And how do you envision that split possibly working out this year?
I think there's a misconception in college football, like everybody wants to have one running back, and you can't play football that way. Like, you always need 3 or 4, always. They get too beat up. The game is too physical. Now, both the two guys you mentioned are both physical, powerful runners, which we love about them. But I know that as Coach Deggy is looking at how we're going to scheme that for both those guys and the other ones in the room, because we feel good about that room. It's a talented room from top to bottom. And that's why the question about Izzy is interesting, because it's just going to create more competition, right, which we love. But with Ked, Ked is a mature player. He's played a lot of football. Same with Quincy. And both those guys are a little bit different style players. But the thing that I love about them is they're both incredibly tough. And I think that part of it has to show up at that position.
Chase is here and then Juan.
Are there a few players we should keep an eye on or that we'll notice right away that have kind of made physical transformations over the summer since last season?
That's a good question. I think you're going to think the team looks good when they come out here tomorrow or whenever you come to practice this week. I'm excited about getting Tyler Powell back, right? Like, he was a guy that just had a bad, unfortunate injury, first play of the game last year, first play of the season last year that he was in. But he looks great. You know, when you see him, he looks great. I would say Gavin Hunter looks amazing. If I looked like Gavin Hunter, I would never wear a shirt either, but I don't. But he is impressive. He is impressive. Trying to think who else looks really good. I think Tay Brown's had a big time off season. He looks great. When you see those receivers, Chris Hunter, Spivey, Gio, like, that group looks really, really good in terms of just how they are physically. Obviously, Gio being a young player, right, like, needed that because he played as a freshman and was really impactful as a freshman, but you still don't have that runway of the strength and conditioning, and now he's been in it for a year and a half, and you start to see that physical growth, and that part of it's exciting too.
Juan and then Coach Henry.
At Big 12 Media Day, Noah said that if it's him and Dash in the open field, that it was going to happen, right? What does that say about both of them as players and their mindset when it comes to just practice?
They're both so competitive, and yeah, like, I've had to address that. Coach Dagy's addressed it with Noah. Coach Gonzalez has addressed it with Danny. I mean, with Dash. So yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But it's so funny because every time it comes up, Noah says the same thing. Like, I'm running him over, and I'm like, Dash, you're running the other direction. Like, we don't want you guys near each other. So.
Ricky and then Michael.
Coach, unlike these guys, I have the privilege to watch these guys live. And I think I mentioned to you the other day, these kids have embraced the red line to a whole new level. They've been doing it for 2 years now. But when I watch practice and I see these guys, they look like an NFL team because they don't hit the ground. They stay on their feet. They run to the huddle. They run off the field. And they're doing this on their own. How did we get to the point that these kids have matured so fast when you had almost 50 new players?
I think the returning players do a great job. Let me rewind. Our assistant coaches, our coaching staff, our strength staff does a really good job providing the structure to how we're going to operate, what the standard is and the structure that we're going to operate in. But then the players, the returning players, are the ones that make sure the new guys understand it. And I believe that is a really challenging thing to hold your peers accountable for this generation that we're coaching right now. I think they really struggle with it. But our guys have leaned into it and found the right way to do it, without being, without making anyone feel some kind of way. And I think that part is really driving it in a positive direction.
Michael and then Jason Barr.
Two of your highest ranked recruits in this last class were RJ Mosley and Oscar Rios. Oscar was very limited in spring, RJ maybe a little bit. What are your expectations for the two of those guys in this training camp?
My expectation is to see them both practice more than I have. Where Oscar came in and immediately needed surgery, and so he was really shut down most of the spring. But he's making progress. And then RJ is a young player. I think that when we talk about competition at positions, I think that's one of those positions that's going to be a lot of fun because there's a lot of really good players in that receiver room. And I think that's just going to continue to push and drive, those players in that room every single day because it is really deep, right? And everybody knows about Trey Spivey or Chris Hunter or Gio, but there's another 6 guys right behind them that are all really good football players and all going to be really pushing each other for the next, for those reps. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch Isaiah Mizell get going. It's going to be fun to watch Rodney and Brandon Phelps. And it's going to be, and then you have RJ, who's a young player that did miss actually a lot of spring with a hamstring injury. So now he's trying to push in that mix, and can Caleb, can Jet get in that mix, right? You have a 10 300-meter guy who's a good football player. So I think that's going to be really one of those fun things to watch for all of us.
Our last two will be Jason and then Justin.
Can you speak to the Cats building and how that's helped your players? I know Javion's talked about that. It can be mental health. It can be in the classroom. Any way that you see it's really benefited your players?
So the Cats department here, they're incredible. I think that's one of those things where you consistently see our team. Since our staff has been here, we've had the highest team GPA in the history of Arizona football 2 or 3 times by semester. I think, and those people there are great about their work. And then I think as a coaching staff, we do a good job supporting it. I think there's lots of coaching staffs that don't support the academic process for their players. That's not how we're built. But some staffs are like that. Some staffs are like, hey, it's just all football, right? And I get it. The stakes are high. But we think the holistic development of young men is important. And it's not just what they do on the field. It's what are they doing in Cats? What are they doing with our Beyond Football program? Like, we think all those things help those young men with their experience here. Like, how good of an experience are they having at the University of Arizona? It's got to be more than football, because those are such other big parts of their life, their academic process, what their professional development, their future looks like, what the community service is like, what their campus engagement is like.
I'm asking all the offensive players and coaches this question. Is there one Noah Fafita story that is your favorite, one that stands above the rest?
I think it's probably when I first met him, and I'd just been hired, and I just met with the team, and they it's just a whirlwind. It was like so hectic and crazy, and they put me in the front seat of a golf cart, and they were bringing me over to HR to sign some papers or whatever. And my wife was on the back of the golf cart. I didn't even know she was there, because whoever I was talking to, it might have been Dave or Hiki, or I don't know who I was, but it was just, there's a lot going on. But I also didn't know that Noah Fafita jumped on the back of the golf cart. And so I was in this HR meeting for about 15 minutes. My wife walks in and interrupts. I was like, what are you doing here? She said, hey, Noah's outside. He would like to talk to you. So I suspended, I paused the HR meeting and went outside and sat down and talked to Noah for probably 15, 20 minutes. And everything I'd heard about him was just what it was. Genuine, competitive, high character, high work ethic. And we just had this great, open, honest conversation. He's trying to get to know me. I'm trying to get to know him. And so that might be my favorite one. Or 2 days later, when him and T-Mac came in my office and shut the door and told me that they were staying.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everybody. We'll now transition to our breakout period portion.
Bear down.